Alrighty, this is Claudia. I'm coming to you live from Portland, and I want to do a little demo on how I block my quilts. Now, what blocking a quilt, what the purpose of that is to square up my quilt while it is wet. And there's another couple purposes that happen when you block your quilt. So one is when you embroider, I use a lot of Terrio Magic, so my quilt is very, very stiff. And then also I use a lot of tearaway. That also makes it very stiff. So when we go through the process of blocking it, we're going to soak it in hot water with Retayne or Synthropol. I prefer Retayne if I get a chance to choose between the two. What? And we're going to soak that in this product, and that what Retayne and Synthropol both do is they release the bleed from your fabric. Now, I just want to back up and say one more thing. I have not pre-washed my fabric. So that's why I'm using the Retayne, because I have not done that. Now my hope is to stick this whole quilt in my bathtub. I'm going to fill my bathtub with some water and
bathtub?
In your bathtub, because we're at your house. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to take this bad boy into the bathroom. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn my water on hot water, hot as it can go. And then I'm going to add Retayne to the water. And if you're going to get the big bottle, it's about 1/3 of the bottle. If you get the little bottle, it's the whole 4-ounce little bottle. And I'm just going to run those in together because I only have about 1/3 left. I'm going to mix it around a little bit. And I'm going to let the water fill so I get about 3 inches of water. While it's still, let me squish it around for a second. There we go. Okay, so my quilt is in the tub. I'm now going to kind of flip it over myself. I only need about 3 inches of water. And I'm going to make sure that it's completely saturated with that water. And I'm also going to kind of rub it around and even rub it on itself a little bit, because what I'm trying to do is release the dye, however much dye is in there. So I'm going to do my own agitation. If you have a top loader, you could have done this in your washing machine, but I don't have a top loader. I have a front loader, and they don't hold any water. So I can't soak my quilt. So I have to do it in my bathtub. So this is how I do it. So I'm going to do this for about 20 minutes. And you want it to soak at least 20 minutes, 20 to 25, 20 to 30 minutes, and that would be great. But try and move it along as you're doing it. You'll notice that there's a little bit of bubbles. It doesn't bubble up a lot, but there is just a little bit of bubbles. Make sure that you just keep kind of moving it around and agitating your quilt while it's in that water and flipping it up and down so that you can get every part of it into that water and so it can release the dye. All right, I'll see you in 20 minutes. Okay, now you can see I have opened the drain, and now we're waiting for it to drain, and we're going to get rid of all of our dirty water. And since it's been about a half hour, this water, believe me, is no longer warm, but it is doing its job with that Retayne. This is, as you can see from this drain, this is the world's slowest drain. Yep, so I'll just come back in another 20 minutes when the water actually goes down. We'll catch you on the flip side. All right, so as you can see, we are really still just waiting for that sucker to get down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually rinse this quilt 3 times with cold water. I probably only need to do it once, but I like to make sure all the bubbles are actually out of it. So when this water gets down, and this could be tomorrow at this rate, I don't know, but whenever it actually goes down, I am going to actually fill it back up with some cold water and rinse this quilt out. Almost there. We are so close. But truly, this is the worst drain I've ever seen.
Hey, it came with the house.
There we go. Oh, look I can actually see some water twisting around there at the drain. All right, close enough. Now we're going to fill this with some cold water, and I'm going to rinse my quilt out. Get the soap out. Okay, ready? Okay, so I've rinsed it all out. There's really basically no bubbles left. I'm going to open that drain. And again, we'll just wait and see. We're gonna drain this out. I'm gonna kind of fold up my quilt in, I mean, I'm not gonna really squeeze it, but I'm gonna kind of roll it all up here and just kind of lean on it to drain it out. But I'm gonna have to wait another half hour for the water to go down. But when it does go down, I'm gonna slightly squeeze out my quilt. And I'm going to put it into a laundry basket and take it upstairs into the washing machine and put it on rinse and spin again. So that'll be my second rinsing, will actually be right there. This water's actually going down faster this time. Maybe it wasn't quite all the way open the first time. Sorry, I made fun of your drain. Okay, so this is almost down right there. So now I'm going to just kind of squeeze this out. I mean, it's really sopping wet, and now I'm going to go ahead and throw this into a basket. Oh, gonna hold it right there. Okay, hold that. Okay, we're just gonna plop that baby in. All right, so you can see I put the wet quilt in my front loader. Shut the door. I'm going to, do you push this in, Margot? Pull it out.
Turn it on first.
Is it right here?
Yeah,
Okay. Wow. Super cool. Okay, how do you turn it to drain and spin?
Just keep turning it.
Oh, look at this. Look at this guy. Wow, this is a high-tech washer. I'm putting it on either rinse and spin or drain and spin, whatever yours happens to say. Is this my go button?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it should go. Oh yeah, baby, there it is. I heard the click.
Yeah.
And we're going to let it do that till it's done, so it's going to be about 11 minutes. And so we'll go finish watching some Hallmark movies while we're doing this. Let's do it.
All right.
Okay, so I just got the quilt out of my washing machine, and I'm just going to kind of lay it flat on the floor. It is very, very damp dry, so it's not like it's soaking wet on this floor. When you get it out, I'm going to actually smooth it all the way out to all the corners, and then I'm going to measure it to make sure, because this quilt is supposed to be 60 inches wide. I'm going to make sure it's 60 inches wide at the across the bottom, across the middle, and across the top. And then 60 inches down this right side, down the middle, and down the left side, so that I know it's 60 inches square. If it's not, I'm just going to take my hands and move it out or bring it back in, depending what it needs to get to that 60 inches. Once I get it out, I don't need to really, I just let it be, and it dries just like it's supposed to dry. So it's this process of blocking it right here where you're going to have it be whatever it's going to be, you're going to make it. And then you want to make sure you're going to be laying it all down as flat as you need to be. Make sure everything is good and square. So I'll do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we get it blocked out. Okay, so this quilt is 55 inches. This one actually measures 55 inches. If it's 55 from this point to that point all the way across, if I move my tape measure up to this end, it is also a perfect 55. And then on this side over here, let me just come up here. This one is, whoops, let me get up here, also perfect 55. So now I'm going to now measure going across this way. And I can tell you, because we just measured this, this one measures 54 inches, not 55. And it did measure 54 across the middle and also across the top. As long as all of the numbers are the same, as long as the width at the bottom is the same as the width at the middle, the same as the width at the top, I can live with an inch difference in them, because that's probably just in how it got sewed. I didn't do this one, that's why. But no, just kidding. I did have a friend make this one for me. But as long as the width, all the width measurements from across the top, across the middle, across the bottom are the same number, and all the length measurements are the same number. If they both match, it's fantastic. If they don't match, but they're very close, that also is going to work. Okay. I'm not even pinning it. I'm literally just letting it. We had to stretch it out, by the way, from the middle. I held it here, and I moved it out this way, and then I moved it out this way, because it wasn't quite the 54 there where it was every place else. Now that I've just kind of moved it, that's why you want to do it when it's wet. That is also why I do not have a binding on. If the binding is on, it's less pliable, so I do not add the binding. Everything else on this quilt is done. It is completely quilted. and ready to go except for the binding. When it dries, I will add the binding. And actually, just as a little reminder, I probably should have mentioned that I normally throw in the binding fabric in the bathtub so that it too will, the Retayne will get the excess dye out of the binding fabric as well as my quilt itself. That's how you block it. Now it's going to be soft. The tearaway is completely deteriorated due to the hot water. The Material Magic that was in it is completely gone and dissolved, so it's going to just be a soft quilt. And it's also going to be square. And that's how you block your quilts. Thanks.